Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. It's been a very long time, I know, but behind me here is my BMW 1150 GS, lovingly known as Old Yeller. So as a quick recap for those that are new and those that have been here and I've not been about for a while, 2 years ago I got this bike and turns out it wasn't quite as good as I thought it was when I first got it. I had to do loads of work to this bike. Fork oil seals, replace the suspension, loads of bits and bobs, and then I thought it'd be a good idea to ride it to the Sahara. Now to do that I had to do more work, which involved doing the clutch and a load of other bits and a load of other oil seals, and in fact until the day before I set off I was still working on this bike. Now on the way there it then decided to start leaking oil everywhere, which wasn't good. I didn't even think we were going to make it to the Sahara, and somehow we managed to get there and then nearly all the way back until the bike broke down in Spain and I had to leave the bike there. I flew home, I got the bike recovered back to the UK, and that was because the bearings in the final drive had failed, the only thing I hadn't touched before we went away. So anyway, that was 18 months ago. Last year the bike has just sat and done very little. I put a new final drive on the bike just so I could use it, ignored the oil leaks, used it a couple more times and decided it was probably unsafe to use because of how bad the oil leaks were. So Old Yeller's sat here, the MOT has run out, it's been very sad for itself, and I've debated what to do. Shall I get rid of Old Yeller and buy a new bike, which is what most sensible people would do, or shall I try and fix Old Yeller and let's have one last hurrah at the old girl before I park her up? So what have I managed to find? Well, like I say, the oil leaks have been pretty bad. I did a compression test on the engine and the compression is really low. It's like 70 psi, which is terrible. So the engine really needs a rebuild, which I'm not going to do because I haven't got the time or the energy or the funds. But what I have managed to find is a replacement engine. So we've got a replacement engine there. Like I say, the final drive was replaced, but I have still got the old final drive, so I've decided I'm going to get the old final drive back out. We're going to tear that apart and actually find out what went wrong with that and fix that. And we're going to get Old Yeller back on the road, MOT'd, and I'm going to take Old Yeller out for a trip as soon as the weather's good. And I can't wait because I've missed this bike. You would not believe how much I've missed this bike. I've missed going out on it, I've missed the camping, I've missed everything. I've missed my old faithful. So what we're going to do, the garage is clear, the bike ramp's out. I've had somebody turn up who's going to give me a hand for a bit, yep. And we're going to crack on. So roll some footage and I'll tell you a bit more about this engine. Well, this clip will show just how bad some of these oil leaks are. Everything is covered. The exhaust covered in oil, some of that's ground on. That took a lot of cleaning off when it came to cleaning it off. You know, it's ground in, everything is covered. I decided a while ago I was going to keep an eye out for an engine for the bike. Looking at every day on Marketplace and on eBay, waiting for something to come up, and trying to find a low mileage GS engine just seemed to be unobtainium. There just weren't about. Something that didn't look like it had been dragged out of a canal. They're just not around. And like I say, I looked every day. Every day I was searching on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay in case something came up. They just never did, until I saw this. Now, while reading a Facebook post, somebody had put on Facebook, on one of the GS owners groups, that they had put an engine out of an 1100S. Now, shortly, there we go, that's the 1100S. That is the sports bike, BMW sports bike of the time. Now the actual 1100S actually, although it's slightly smaller capacity, it's not in 1150, it has a slightly higher brake horsepower. So, and as it happened, I read the post about somebody putting an 1100S engine in their bike. I just hadn't even finished reading the post, looked on Marketplace, and there was an 1100S engine on Marketplace, advertised with 27,000 miles on it. The guy had bought it as a spare engine, hadn't used it, was selling the bike, wanted to sell the engine. This was just before Christmas. He had it on for 350 quid. I thought, I'm going to cheekily offer 250 because it's on the lead up to Christmas. Had a few messages backwards and forwards with the guy, and he accepted it, and it just so worked out that I managed to pick that engine up on the way home from doing a job while I was at work as well. So everything just seemed to drop into place nicely. Now I know you're always taking a chance when you buy stuff off Marketplace, and I was worried when I brought this engine because it could have been anything. You just don't know what you're buying sometimes, do you? But I thought for 250 quid I've got to take the chance, because they're 500-600 quid on eBay. That's when you can find them, so I had to take the chance. Stupid not to, really. But yeah, anyway, a big thanks for Joe for coming out and helping out for a bit. Really good to see him again. But the engine's nearly out. That took me a good few hours, 3 or 4 hours to get that out, but it's nearly out, ready for its new life again after we get rid of the old engine. Okay, so old Yella's now stripped. The old engine is out. Old engine sitting there, new engine sitting there. Poor old Yella looking very sorry for itself. So, old engine, all horrible, scabby, paint flaking off it, ground in grime and dirt. I mean, just look at the state of this thing. Terrible. Oil leak. Although we replaced that seal, that's leaking again. I think the base gasket from the cylinders is leaking. Front's probably leaking. You know, new seals went in this, and it's still leaking. That was replaced twice. I replaced it once, wasn't happy how I did it. Got Joe to do it. I know it's been done properly, so it's either parts, non-genuine parts, or just the wear on this crank. I don't know. But anyway, just look at it. New engine, all nice and clean, you know, no paint flaking on it, all looks good. You know, look at it, it's like night and day. The only problem the only thing that is worrying me is when I got this engine, I thought I'm going to replace the rear main oil seal anyway. I did buy genuine this time. I went to BMW. There we go, genuine BMW rear main oil seal and all the bolts that you need to replace. You can see this has been leaking a bit, probably for some time. You know, it's a 20-odd-year-old engine. I don't know the exact age of it, but it's got to be at least 20 years old for when they stop making these. So seals will go. Being as this is a difficult one to replace, I thought we'd replace it while we're there. Now, when I took the old clutch off, I found something a little worrying. You know, this engine's supposed to have done 27,000 miles. The clutch is worn down to the rivets. The discoloration on here, that clutch has been massively overheated. Makes me wonder, is there anything else wrong with this engine? I hope not. This engine probably would have come from a breakers. So was the bike it was in, was it stolen, recovered, rather than being in an accident? You don't know these things, unfortunately. I hope we're not going to find anything else wrong with it. You know, if it was stolen, recovered, you know, the idiots that stole it might have been abusing it a bit. You know, for the clutch to be in that sort of state, at 27,000 miles, you know, they've been doing something with it. When I took it out, there was bits of clutch. That is actually bits of clutch. So the clutch has been slipping and burnt out. You'd struggle to do that really on something that's done 27,000 miles. But I obviously replaced the clutch in this engine before I went to Morocco. I've got a clutch there. Here, this has only done a few thousand miles. It's not even bedded in properly yet. I mean, it's not even worn the, we've not even worn some of the writing off of that one. So that clutch will be going in. Once the engine's in, we'll be checking valve clearances and stuff like that, but I'll do that once it's in. Cleaned a load of the bits and bobs up that came off the bike, the exhaust headers, the exhaust, loads of things were just covered in oil, so I set a bit of a bath up in a plastic container with some degreaser, cleaned things, polished things up, you know, painted things pointlessly. Centre stand's been cleaned and painted. Not the best job, but kind of matches the rest of the bike. But yeah, time to get the new oil seal put in, get the clutch built up, clean this lot up, get the stand on, start putting the bike back together. Yes, at last. Won't be long till we're riding it now, fingers crossed. So, time to get on. Let's get this engine in. Okay, so new engine, all built up, alternators on, belts on the front, you'll see that when we turn it round, stands are back on, centre stand, side stand, clutch is all in, the space is cleared, tools are put away, had a tidy up, we're ready to start lifting it in. Now this is the nervous part. I'm excited to get this in, so let's crack on, let's get it lifted in, start putting the bike back together. Okay folks, so you've seen the engine, the gearbox going in, but now look, ta-da! It's old Yella is actually looking like a motorbike again. So as you can tell, I've been busy. I didn't want to bore you with showing you all the bits of bolting all the rubbish back on, because it took a bit of a while, it was getting a bit boring, so I thought let's cut that out, let's go to the good bit. So everything's gone back together, considering this is out of another bike, not even a GS, the 1100S sports bike. It has bolted up, everything is bolted up perfectly, as if it was designed for it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the startup. So because this engine, I don't know where it's from, this is my £250 Facebook Marketplace engine. Doesn't sound good, does it? I'm getting a bit worried now. But anyway, this thing's been without oil. I don't know what noises it's going to make when we try and start it or anything. So it's got oil in it. Obviously we've got no fuel tank. So the plan is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin it over. I've taken the plugs out. I'm going to spin it over, get oil pressure. Then I'm going to spin it over, make sure we've got spark. Then when we're happy with that, then the tank's going to go on. Everything else is going to get tidied up. And then we're going to go for the proper startup. So let's see, even if it spins over, and let's see if we can get some oil pressure. Here we go. Turn the key on. Obviously you can see we've got the lights on there. Turn that to the correct position. Now in theory, when I press this, it should start. It should try and turn over. I'm just looking around now, making sure I've got everything. Let's just see if it does anything. Yes. Right. Does the oil pressure light go out? Go on, please go out. It's not going out. Oh, why have we not got any oil pressure? I thought that would have gone out by now. Oh, yes! That's the first bit done. Oh, let's just go again. Yes. Oil pressure. That doesn't actually sound too bad. I'm quite pleased with that. Obviously the plugs are out, so it is spinning over quite freely. Next, let's put a plug into one of the leads. So I'm going to put one of the plugs in. Now the plugs I took out, they're actually quite expensive, quite good plugs. So let's plug one of these in. Let's try and rest him on there. Where can we rest this? It's not going to try and fall everywhere because I've got to be able to hold the camera and press the button. I need another pair of hands. Come on. That's not going to work, so I'm touching the plastic. Right. Let's just see if we get a spark. No. I can see no spark. Let's try it somewhere else. I'm going to have to put you down a minute and we're going to have to try again. Okay, I've got spark back. Quick check over of plugs and all the bits and bobs. I found a couple of small issues. One was a sensor called the hall sensor that goes on the front of here. It's a sensor, I don't know where I put the other one. Hang on. Here it is. The sensor that goes on the front of here, on the old engine, all the wiring, is it picking up there, is exposed. It's all been caught. So I thought I'll swap that over. So swap that over. Still didn't have spark. And then I was just checking through plugs, because it's always good to check back on stuff that you've done. And I found I got two plugs the wrong way round. And eagle-eyed of you may have noticed before, when I switched the ignition on, we had no neutral light. That's because I had the plug from the gearbox and one of the other plugs the wrong way around. So I wasn't getting neutral light and I wasn't getting spark. But now, watch this. Here we go. Let's just see. Spark. We've got spark, the all important bit. So, should now just have to add fuel and we should be onto a winner. So, what I'm going to do now is off camera. We'll get the tank back on. I've got some wiring to tidy up, once cable tidying up. We'll get the tank on and then we're going to go for the first start. Yes! So, I'll cut back in a minute when we're ready to fire it up. Okay folks, this is it. We're going for the startup. Right, ignition on. Fuel pump going. Let's do that a couple of times. I'm actually really nervous now. So, here we go. We're idling a bit high, but it works. Sounds a little bit rough at the minute, I'm not sure what's going on. Ooh, it works. I'm excited. Right. Oh my god. Gonna have a quick look round, see what's going on while we're idling like that. And then we're gonna go for another fire up. But it works, it didn't sound, that sounded nice. Right, okay. After a bit of messing about, we have found the problem. What it was, I'd routed one of the cables to one of the throttle bodies slightly in the wrong place, so it was a bit taut and it was making one of the throttle bodies stay open, so it was running a bit rough. But now, look at this. This is brilliant. Right, here we go. Ignition. Oh, ignition on. Yes! Old Yella's back. There she is. That engine, have a listen to this. Oh, hang on. Have a listen. There's nothing wrong with the engine. The engine sounds good. It idles brilliantly. My £250 engine from Facebook Marketplace actually works. Who'd have thought it? So, this episode has gone on for way longer than it should have done. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get it warm, I'm going to drop the oil out. I'm going to finish putting it back together and putting it up. Anyway, so, I've got an MOT booked for next weekend. So, luckily, it actually works. So, I'm going to end the episode here. Next time you see it, we're going to take it for the MOT and we're actually going to go and ride it, yes, and we'll see what is wrong with the old final drive, because don't forget, still got the final drive to change. So, until next time guys, I'll see you later. I'm really excited, I can't believe it. One last time before we go.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.